पर कोई एडमिट नहीं आ गया अभी तक?
नहीं।
ओके।
मैंने तो भेजा था ग्रुप में।
अरे यार, नहीं पहुंचे। जल्दी बोल उनको करने को
मैंने
पहुंचते ही।
ऑर्गेनाइजर्स वाले ग्रुप में भेजा था, उन्होंने ओके बोला। तूने देखा?
हाँ देखा, रुक उनको पूछ रहा हूँ।
शायद।
हेलो। हाँ भाई। भाई कोई आ नहीं रहा क्या?
भेजे नहीं क्या ईमेल?
भेजे तो उन्होंने, अभी रिमाइंडर डाल रहे हैं बोले।
ओके।
मैं एक काम करता हूँ, जो लिंक मैंने बनाया हुआ है ना, उसको भी एडिट करके सीधा फॉर्म की जगह इधर डालता हूँ। 8 लोगों ने तो क्लिक किया लेकिन। कूल। Okay, so we can begin now. Sat Shri Akal and hello everyone. Thanks for taking out time to be here. Whatever is coming next is well designed and drafted, curated to make an experience for you. I'm sure I'm audible. Am I? Okay, so let's proceed. Whatever you see, you hear, you experience is made for this for is made this way for a reason, which I will eventually share in the end. So whoever stays till the end will be able to interpret every moment and effectively connect the dots. Yes, what's well said by Steve Jobs as well. So our 21st century smart people, let's begin the journey of amusement from the world of computers and technology. A little check on what we will cover today. We shall start with breaking common myths that are arised due to new technology shifts in the industry, namely in the field of data science, AI/ML, blockchain, and IoT. Rest are the topics for some other session, but of course, stay tuned for them. Next, we will check out the new possibilities and challenges as well that we have today by virtue of progression in tech as a whole so far. This includes, but is not limited to, self-driving cars, humanoids, FTSE OS. If you don't know it, don't worry, we'll cover it. HIDs. If these words sound familiar or strange, don't worry, they are simple words and just made to appear challenging using buzzwords. Sorry for that. And we will wrap up with solving this age's novel problem. That is, we'll see how to break the social dilemma and live our lives as per our choice and not as per suggestion engines, which are really scary sometimes. If you notice, we will spend 2 hearts on each topic, and in case you wonder, 1 heart is equals to 10 minutes, so 20 minutes for each section, or that's what I believe will happen. Who knows when we go beyond the planned depth in the fun of moments. Let's begin spilling the beans of those 2 hearts or minutes into the experience. Breaking the myths. And before every other myth that I said, above all myths, even those which I listed earlier, there is one myth that needs to be busted, and surprisingly, it is still intact so far. The myth of there are no jobs in the world for me. Believe it or not, 70% of people say this to themselves at some point in their lifetime, and that's why it takes more time to find good and passionate people, because things are sometimes messed up. Sad but true. This being the worst gives rise to other issues like self-doubt, regret, blame games, grudges, and whatnot. Apparently a major contributor to the higher than ever suicidal rates nowadays. This level of tech and industries didn't existed before, and thus nor this problem. We need passionate people who know their trade well and are eager to grow and enhance their skills. Any industry person cannot agree more about this fact, but that's what we are here, and this workshop is all about. Also, I know a few openings, so in case you are interested, reach me out to on LinkedIn, and given that you are confident in your skills enough to use them in real world. Now, the problem has its roots in some of society misconceptions or traditional approach to situations that includes, but is not limited to, these, which are, for an example, an ambitious girl's challenge. No one will marry you if your roti is not round. That's a typical one. And if you're thinking that it goes just feminist type, then here's another one. Ambitious boy challenges. Dad, I want to be an actor. Dad slapping fast. It's pronounced doctor. That was really understandable to any Indian right now here, and to other parts of the world as well, because we have a few for international attendees also. So, and the solution, what it is, you probably know it already because we have been so far out of this. But if we try to put it in simple words, we just need to be more educated, wise, and smart. Yes, these 3 features are unique and distinct. How? Education will help us match shoulders with the world. The books, even if old, are still knowledgeable. Just believe the process. And wisdoms helps us understand people, responses, nature, and in turn ourselves. And then comes smartness that will actually help us innovate and be creative in our fields. This reminds me of someone. Yes, perfectly said. If you realize your life is 100% your responsibility, there is no room for being resentful towards anyone. Once you think deep, you will cross these mental barriers that stop you from being yourself. Maybe even without a psychologist therapy session. Sorry to psychologists, but I had to share this easy way. Now we are on the same level of enthusiasm and we can dive deep into tech. Take a little moment to relax. We just covered one section and there are many more to go. And it's going to be fun, I assure you. Shall we continue? Just drop in a yes or no and or use a mic. Cool, awesome. Moving further, breaking the myths and starting with data science. No AIML, no theory of competition, or maybe there can be a little of it. But first of all, reminder, this workshop is for you. My words are a script which I spent efforts to write, which I will eventually lose because of curiosity. And but what matters the most is what you ask. You should ask questions, bring to light thoughts we might have missed, share your ideas as they come. To avoid time losses, just say it in a structured way so it is easy to understand and try to say in less words. No compulsion, but preferred. And most important, ask literally anything that comes to your mind. In chat box, or if you feel needed, then open up the mic. Let's talk. Now, let me turn tables towards tech and naturally computing as whole. Myth number 1. Data science is purely a math field. It's actually not like that. In fact, if we check out for data science, like 50 to 70% of data science is actually sanitizing inputs, understanding which features will be important, and using the one of the most rare and most important features of human beings, common sense. And the next half, you can say, or next 30% covers the algorithms, maths, and all the final touches, including the presentation methods and all stuff. So no, it's actually a very long-going myth that data science is purely math field. It's not. Moving further, myth number 2: learning data science equals learning tools. Just think of this: you know many tools, but do you know where to use it, and do you know what it takes to be able to use them? If you don't know, those tools are useless for you. Just the same applies to data science as well. If you understand all those algorithms, if you're master of all of them, and you can just play with them all the time, but you don't know how to prepare data sets to be used to use them, then those tools are just tools. You are not making value out of it. So that's another myth. And of course, choosing features and understanding data requires common sense, which is something you need to develop. Myth number 3: data science will be replaced by AI soon. This is a really grayish kind of myth that is neither black nor white, because even right now we are watching many things that are being replaced by AI, including data science applications and use cases. But if you really think deep, you will realize that AI was possible because of data science, and once it replaces what was already being handled by data science has now new fields, new pathways opened for it to explore and understand how things work. And there will never be outage of understanding data and miraculous and explorative stuff that you might stumble upon into just soon. And data science will get its place again. So I don't think it will be replaced anytime. In case you're starting your data science career, this is a beginner's guide to analytics. I will share the PPT later or drop this link in the chat box, so don't worry about it. So no questions in the chat box so far. Moving further. Take a time to relax. We just finished data science section. It's going really good. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Feel free to nudge me out, pause the flow, and ask your questions if they are somewhat related to the section, because next we will move on to a completely different one. You can ask in the end if you like, or in between. Shall I continue? Cool, awesome. So, breaking myths, AI ML. First of all, the biggest myth: AI is not equals to ML. AI is a superset, ML is a subset, which will be clear with this image, I guess. So as you can see, AI is a big thing. Then we have data mining. They are somewhat overlapping for some areas, because once you start data mining, you actually found those insights, and implicitly you create AI algorithms out of it. So there is some kind of overlapping region. But when you go for all of these things as a whole, if you want to classify them, then you can think of rule-based engine, like simple, actually a bunch of if else statements kind of stuff is pure generic AI. Then if you go for genetic algorithms, or you can say for like ant colony optimization and all stuff, it's the part of ML, machine learning, where you are not specifying what you want to find out, but you are just giving this is input, this is output, find out the pattern. So that's genetic algorithms and all ML stuff. And there is also this thing called as neural networks, which is included in ML, and does the same thing, but in a more generic approach that is not having kind of restrictions of use cases and can be applied to almost many things, but does not guarantee every time that it will be helpful, because neural networks are just unpredictable if you don't understand them. Then we have DL, that is deep learning, which is these neural networks taken onto a whole new level with multiple layers, multiple hidden layers, multiple nodes in the single layer. You will understand this later if you step into the world of AI and ML. So let's talk about those myths first. And if you want, we can discuss in the end. Myth number 1, AI and ML are same and interchangeable. As I said, they are not. AI can be a lot of things, but when it comes to ML, ML cannot be AI, because AI has ML, AI has DL, AI has classification algorithms, AI has rule-based engines, whereas ML has just ML part, the actual algorithms and processing part, which is not dependable on what data is being used. It should be able to find insights from any kind of data. That's why it's called machine learning and is not restricted to a particular application. The same thing applied to a different use case anytime possible. That's the difference between AI and ML. But if you go for AI, the same logic designed for a particular use case may not be valid or even irrelevant for another use case. People telling me AI is going to destroy the world, my neural network thinks that that cat is a dog. And that's actually what happens when you start all these things. If you are wondering what is this exactly, this is called as computer vision. OpenCV is a good library for it. And if you are interested, I have a contact that you can talk to. But yeah, sometimes neural networks go wrong just like this, because although the features are looking like a dog, it's not a dog. That's where the common sense comes into play. It's just not so common for machines, of course. Then here's, okay, this one is really funny. Algorithms and maths makes machine learning because both of them are just not dependent or doesn't rely on a particular use case. And that's why machine learning is a more generic field of study. It doesn't think of problem as just that problem. It covers the whole domain of that problem at once, even when those two use cases are completely irrelevant, for example, medical and psychology, but or you can say medical and industrial, you can say industry, automation and robots and all stuff, but these things has to work for both of them. So let's myth number 2, AI will replace all jobs in future. That's actually a pretty controversial and tricky one, because it's actually happening. Many of those jobs which are simple enough to be able to be predicted by an AI are actually being eventually replaced by AI. And that's what we are kind of a little worried about. But there is one thing that AI can never replace, I guess, or you can see, is intuition and innovation. Even if it does innovate, for example, right now there are many AI systems that are actually good enough to create to be able to create innovative art pieces and drawings. There are some meme generators out there also, but not not every about, or you can say none of them so far understands what is the quality of their content created, how much people like it, how a human would react to it. Well, that's not so far done. Maybe it will be done soon, but right now it's not there. And even if it's possible, for example, if an AI can create an art piece for you that you like, even then there will still be this thing missing that is called as human touch, because human touch is never perfect and machine generated things are generally perfect. That's what the gap I think will stay always. But we cannot miss that opens way for new work roles, just like it happened in the industrial revolution and now after industry 4.0. In case we are not aware, industry 4.0 is now referred to as the world of IoT, where everything is connected to the internet and generating pieces of data that is used for insights and finding routines and making your life easier. But okay, that's a really good one. But let's see. Myth 3, AI will take over the world. Uh, it's kind of grayish part again, because if we say it like AI will take over the world and it will be able to do everything, every job, that's an ideal use case, and it will destroy us, thinking that we are the problem of the planet. That's a worst case scenario. But in both of these cases, there is really chance that AI will cover the whole world as a whole in some sort of ways. But we'll surely find out some ways, and things are already going into it, despite the fact that it's not mature enough to do any harm to us as of now. There is still time and research going on, but we cannot miss this concern because of the novel field. Elon Musk also said, "Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes." Tesla and SpaceX boss Elon Musk. That's the grayish part of it, that we cannot predict. As I said, ML neural networks are sometimes impossible to predict because they are so random and so quick at getting to conclusions. And that's what the problem with us humans as well. If we jump to conclusions so quick, we might end up thinking or choosing the wrong choice. And that's the trouble with AI that we have to solve, and we are solving it throughout. Researches are going on, and let's hope that we get robots like Chappie and not like Terminator. Uh, AI will take over the world again. I'm not scared of a computer passing the Turing test. I'm terrified of one that intentionally fails it. Okay, this one is a good one. If you don't know what is a Turing test is named after the amazing mathematician Alan Turing. He's the guy because of which right now we have computers, and the Turing architecture is done out of his insights. If you know about him, you might already know that there is a movie called Imitation Game, which is based on the life story of Alan Turing. He actually solved the Enigma, one of the unbreakable encryption machines of the World War II, I guess. And he's helped to defeat Germans by breaking how to get that encrypted data decrypted in within a day. So that was a big deal. But then he designed this test called the Turing test, in which you give some questions to a machine and get answers of the machine on those questions, and you decide that if it represents or if it mimics a human or a machine. Because you can see that a machine responses can be sometimes too much rule based and too much direct, which a human will smartly be able to pass further. But what if any machine intentionally fails at it, trying to mimic that it's a machine? And that's where the problem comes up, because now machine knows how to lie, and that's scary. Let's move further. It's a topic that will still go on for a while until we find a good solution for it. Okay, we just finished AI and ML. That was a really intriguing one and stressful one as well. Take a deep breath. grab a glass of water, take a take a sip, chill for a second, and we tell me when once we can move further. I'm waiting for your replies in the chat box or your mic openings. Shall we start? Cool, awesome. Moving further, breaking myths on blockchain. Now, this one is really intriguing because blockchain is a really, really hot topic right now, and much of people are right now confused at what is blockchain and what's the difference between all of those terms and all stuff. It's also called as next leap in security because it's so much secure that it's actually giving us way to go 10 years without 10 years of safety, even in this world where in every month we are breaking a new algorithm. So that's what something very promising about blockchain. And I can explain a bit about, though, even though my knowledge about blockchain is restricted because I'm not an expert yet on it. And the fact is that no one is expert on it, as even the experts say that they are not experts because it is developing so fast and there are so many use cases coming ahead that are making it a more vivid field as a whole, just like AIML. So myth number one, blockchain is Bitcoin and vice versa. That means blockchain is Bitcoin and Bitcoin is blockchain. This is literally a myth. Seriously a myth. Because blockchain is a technology, it is an approach of handling data so that it cannot be manipulated or it cannot be stolen and all stuff, or it cannot be, you can say, it cannot be hampered or hacked and all stuff. You cannot just hack into a blockchain. It's not that easy. It's just beyond of conventional, or you can say superficial computing processing levels right now. The more the blockchain grows, it becomes more difficult to break it. And we are talking about transactions which happen like 500 per second, and it takes you a lot of efforts to understand. It takes a lot of efforts to even catch up with the pace of the growing length of blockchain. Hacking it is a completely different scenario. You just almost can't do it right now. Blockchain is a technology. Bitcoin is built using blockchain. So Bitcoin, if you don't know, Bitcoin is just a currency which runs on blockchain. Every transaction done on using Bitcoin is actually a transaction on the blockchain. And why it's called Bitcoin? Because there are some other levels above blockchain that are applied to create this whole stack of Bitcoin as a technology and as a currency. There are other currencies as well, like Ethereum, Litecoin, and others. You can just Google out cryptocurrencies and you will get a lot of them. Bitcoin is just one of the most hyped one and one of the most expensive ones right now. So that's why it's always known around. Myth number two, you need advanced degree to work with blockchain. It's not about degree, it's about skills and understanding. If you're good at understanding complex stuff, for example, things that just connect and grow exponentially, and you have deep interest in maths. Why deep? Because the more you explore maths, the more you can implement it in blockchain. It doesn't mean that you cannot implement blockchain with basic maths. The actual blockchain, just the technology, or you can say just the data structure. Blockchain is actually a data structure for your knowledge. Just the data structure is simple maths. It is very much clear. It is very well documented. You can just go around and check it. But if you want to make it more secure, robust, optimize it, make novel uses out of it, then you might need to go for some other math and all stuff and those topics that are covered in a degree. But it doesn't mean that it needs a degree. It doesn't need degree at all. It just needs the skills needed to make it. Degree sometimes or may not give you those skills. Even if it covers that skill that seems irrelevant, it might be useful in blockchain. So please ensure that whatever you are learning, you are making use out of every single course, every single class out of your college, because you will never know when it will come handy. I have myself done polytechnic first, and then I'm into engineering. And my polytechnic concepts, that one or two subjects that I thought might not be useful, but still stayed intact to them, thinking that they might be useful because they are somehow relevant, just 1%, but are relevant. And They are really, really useful right now. I just cannot tell you how much good choice it was to keep up with them. Remember, blockchain is just a technology, just a technology. It can be understood with proper learning. The more you study it, the more clear it becomes. You can start using blockchains in a day or two, and rest of time making it better, just like an industrial project. If you guys don't know about how industrial project works, they start quickly and they just keep on joining pieces with each other. That's why object-oriented programming comes into the picture, because we first define the simplest classes, then we create inheritance levels, and when we need changes, we just do that changes at that level of inheritance and not just the whole project, because it can mess up things. That's why it takes a lot of time to plan it as well before developing. And if you're thinking about starting learning blockchain implementation can actually be done in just 2 days. Though it will not be that industry level grade, but it can run. Just one of those tools to deploy a blockchain is Ganache, Ganache. You can just Google out and download it and run it on your system. Just don't run it and run it with 100 to 200 transactions on a second, because that your system might not be able to handle it. Myth number 3, blockchain is costly and inefficient. Now, that's a really bad myth about blockchain, because it is costly when it comes to consensus and proof of work, where these ledgers have to keep track of each other for each and every transaction. But there are some other deployments or implementations of blockchain that are less expensive and more efficient in their work, with a little bit compromise on the level of security that they provide, but they're still secure because it's blockchain in the end. Blockchain leverages consensus mechanism known as proof of work, usually associated with two permissionless networks mining cryptocurrency, good for high-risk use cases. Many permissioned and some permissionless networks also use consensus mechanisms other than proof of work, which in turn are cheaper and efficient. Good for medium to high-risk use cases, for example. Okay, that was a really deep one. I would love to see your comments on this one, because these AI, ML, and blockchain was quite deep right now. Even I didn't thought to go this much deep, and take a little moment to embrace the present, what we are doing right now, and will surely be helpful in the journey ahead. Waiting for a few seconds. Grab your glass, have a drink, keep yourself hydrated, because it takes a lot for a brain to process all these. Okay, so shall we start? Awaiting your responses in the chat box. A few more. Awesome. So now here comes the breaking myths, IoT, Industry 4.0, as said earlier. This is a really interesting one, and there is a lot of things happening right now, and it's a field that is spreading exponentially and literally just spreading everywhere. Like everything you see, that is, you used to think of these things as objects that are just still and are stationary. They are now getting smarter and smarter with implementations of IoT and embedded systems within them, that generates, first of all thing, generates so much data. Second thing, makes life easier because you can interact with them. And third, it's so handy to have these things being helpful in just one or two jobs, because it helps us being productive, and it reduces the time that we need to get things done. It's just a sensible, easy life. But here comes the myth. IoT is just about sensors and big data. For those who are not aware about big data, it's like if you have heard about things like data mining and data warehousing, there's what big data comes into play. Just lots of data, literally every data in just single place, and then trying to process is called big data. in big terms. And sensors you might be already aware about, like for example, we have thermal sensors, we have humidity sensors, we have temperature sensors, we have touch sensors, we have proximity sensors, and all of these sensors generate some kind of data. Accelerometer is one of them. So these sensors generate data on a continuous basis and are just keep creating data every second, which is later processed by using big data and query based systems and all stuff. And this might be really useful, but it's not. IoT is not just about creating data. Mostly it is implementing IoT and smart devices in a sensible way that is efficient, cost effective, and useful as well, and if possible novel or innovative, to make it solve a problem that was not known to the user beforehand. It is more about responsiveness because it's not about just reading data, it's responding to your inputs. It's about automation so that you don't need to worry about what's happening. You just tell him what to trigger them, or give them a time when to do it, and they will just do it, automating your simplifying your life. And then comes the data gathering part, or further analysis, and which in turn helps us gain insights and understand things or the world around us even better. Myth number 2: IoT cannot be made secure. That's a fairly good question because IoT being deployed in the outdoors, and it's just really difficult to implement so much of security and embedded systems into it to make it secure, because it will raise the cost of the product. And IoT is mostly those sensor units that are products, and there are from multiple manufacturers. They have their own set of protocols and all stuff, and it's really sometimes difficult to make sure that your IoT product is very secure. But again, there are many ways coming up. In the image, if you can see, there is Stuxnet virus, these Rico smart meters. These are a really, really old thing as of now, because we are here at 2020. The middle green is around 2011 to 2019. And then we have the previous age of 2005 to 2009, which was actually the time of exploration, because we were just creating these IoT products and just trying it out, whatever we can do with it. And then we got into these problems of security. Then we found some ways to getting out of it. Then there are these things called blocknet trojans that they became susceptible to, and there was a lot of problems that came with it. You can see here is Tesla Model S remote hack. That was, if you are aware and knowledgeable about it, you might have seen that those guys got around 2 million, I guess, for this, because they were able to hack a Tesla remotely, because Tesla is a smart car, it's AI driven, and in turn can be hacked at some level of complexity. But then we fixed it out, and right now we have decent protocols and standards that are deployed so that we can take it to the next level and make it much more difficult for a hacker to get into it. Even though being in outdoors and being a simple module, it's more susceptible to hacks. So make sure to deploy more security on the backend side instead of the unit. Myth number 2, and okay, we are just on the same myth. ARM v8 trust don't support. Yes, it is staring from the corner, because that's what the ARM systems were doing right now. If you are interested, there's the link which I'll share later. You can check out how this architectural change in a IoT device actually helps us to make it more secure. Myth number 3: IoT products are easy to deliver. Okay, this one is a really, really big myth, because it is not that easy as it seems. Creating the product and connecting those sensors, deriving data from it is just the beginning. Making it, packaging it, manufacturing cost, designs, making it a single unit, maintenance, and a lot of other factors comes into play once you start taking it to the industrial level and touching the market. And that's how it becomes really, really complex. So it's not that easy to deliver. Toolkit and setup is one afternoon story, of course, but not to miss many of them, and managing them and then monetizing them, because you have to get your expenses out of the product as well. You cannot just run a business of losses. You need some profits to keep it going. So that's a myth busted. Myth number 4: IoT has no standards or it has standards. This one is kind of grayish area. For example, we have ARMS embed. Yes, it's actually the correct spelling. Then Threads wireless thread standard. We have 802.15.14 wireless protocol and others. If you're wondering why these standards are often referred to as these numbers, because these are numbers defined and associated with a particular standard by IEEE, that is Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. And that's international standard so that we can communicate with each other without worrying about what it's called in your country. PS, IoT is not a single doc thing. I cannot relate to it because developers have this leverage of documentations. Whatever technology we use, we have documentation for it. It is thoroughly created, well drafted, created so logically, and one technology, one documentation. It's that simple. Though it's our skill that we understand it well and be able to use it, which a normal person cannot. But in case of IoT, there is just not one doc, because you have to refer first how to use a sensor, then you have to refer the doc manufacturer specific to understanding how the sensor functions and what are the default values for it in case needed. Then you have to go for other use case applications where you use that IoT information to process. That is a whole separate documentation. Then comes the controller documentations. Then comes the connection documentation. And there is a lot of things that you need to handle at the moment when you are deploying something related to IoT, because it's hardware. It's actual hardware. You are handling software and hardware at the same time, and there's a lot of study you need to do for it. I made a hardware project back in my polytechnic times, and that was a really big challenge that I thought would be good for me, which later turned out to be a really big nightmare. But indeed, it was a really great way to understand how IoT and all these things, all hardwares work, because being from a software side, I wanted to get into hardware and know more about it. We, that being said, not to forget to mention that I actually burnt out 2 or 3 of my PCBs, and I had to later buy them again. That was some cost that was I had to bear. Okay, breathe in, breathe out. We have done so far. We are already done with half of our session, and it actually went a bit more than planned. But as I said, I don't know when it goes just like that way. It's just so fun to keep going in it and thinking, discussing that. Taking us a few seconds gap. Tell me once we can start. And don't forget to hydrate yourself. It's really needed. Keep your brains working. So, shall we start? I'm waiting for your comments in the chat box. Yeah, sure. 10 seconds more. Let's have water for sure. And also, if I sound very fast, or if I'm sound cracky at any point of time, please let me know, because I don't want that my words doesn't reach you. That will just make this whole sense of workshop as a failure. So let me know at any point of time when I'm not properly audible. I can wait for a second so the network gets stable enough. Even I should get water. Okay, shall we continue? Just a few messages more. We have 43 people right now. At least 10 I would be needed to proceed. Yes, keep it coming. Just one more. Awesome. Moving further. Before everything, just a silly reminder. Make sure to feed symbols to your password and make it strong. That was just a funny meme that I found yesterday and thought to add in this slide. Because yet, if you, even if you don't understand how hacking works and all stuff, these symbols literally make it 10 times more difficult for a hacker to break. And if it's a simple password which consists of only alphabets and even only small case of alphabets, it is much more easier for a hacker to break it. But when it comes to symbols, it takes it increases the chances that it can be something else instead of what a hacker tries to predict. And that's why make sure that you use some kind of symbols in your password. I would suggest using at least 2 or 3 of them because at random places, so that it becomes really difficult for even an algorithm to break it soon. Now we are to next. Now we are at next session, exploring new possibilities and challenges. First, self-driving cars. Now this is what many people are sometimes confused about, but it's actually much simpler than we think. We have like one sensor for everything a human does. If we go for like watching the road, we have a video camera. If you think like understanding what is the distance between nearby objects, we have radar sensors for it. If you say that a human can drive around roads without a map because they know the places, we have GPS for that, which is not so good at Indian places because of the very so many of these, you can say, so many of ways around to go. And in case of other places, for example, where there are just highways, it's much useful to use GPS. Not talking about Indian narrow roads and you can say gullies. Then we have laser sensor on the top of cars. This is mostly used for it. First, also helps cameras because cameras cannot see well in nighttime without light. So these laser sensors also uh, drop some laser that reflects back from objects and this can be seen by camera well. And also it helps understand the distances between other objects around the world, other cars, and understand the speed differences with them. There's a lot of thing going on in a self-driving car, but that's what it is. It's self-driving car for a reason because it's a lot of research, science, efforts into just one single thing. If you're thinking about Indian self-driving cars, we have this car made by Aura Robotics, which is just running a pilot trial with small autonomous golf cart at Santa Clara University and will be ready to hit the market next year. It is a simple problem, says Nalin Gupta, one of the team members who designed and developed this car. They are aiming to use it in campus situations because these campuses have a controlled environment. There is not so much of unpredictable situations coming up. There is not need for driving so fast, and thus deploying a smart car, or you can say self-driving cars, is a sensible choice. They are indeed competing the market shunned by Google and Tesla. These companies too are racing to build the autonomous cars. Let's hope they do it well. There is a whole article on them. I will share the PPT and you can see it. Moving ahead. Humanoids. How many of you already know about this humanoid? Answer in chat box. I need to know because it's really fun to see how these things are working right now, and I just need to see How many of you are aware about it? Okay, 3, 4 yeses right now. 5, cool, 6, 7, well, 8, 9, 10. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Looking good. 9 of them out of 45. May I take it? 9 out of 45 people know about Sophia. 10, 11, yes. There are definitely more people here who know about it well. 13, 14, 15, 16. At least 20 I need. 17. Just 3 more. 3 more of them must know about it, I guess. Not aware? 2, just 1. Yes, done. 20. Yes, Sophia. Cool. Sophia is a humanoid developed by Hanson Robotics. They are creating these humanoids out of AI, NLP. NLP is natural linguistic programming, and also referred to as natural language processing as well. And it's working on this a field of AI where we work with contextual based systems, a system that can understand what is being said, what is the meaning of it, and where the conversation is leading to, and what topics or what matters are concerned to the discussion being going on right now. So we can say these AI systems are actually smart communicators, and not just smart but wise sometimes, because they can process quite a lot of information at a fraction of moment that we might not be able to do. Often people ask Sophia that if AI is going to take over the world, and she smiled and made a joke out of it, and that was some kind of confusing, but of course they are controlled right now and they don't have a complete body yet. Neither they are able to perform much of the functions. They are but really good communicators as a whole, and really a good person to talk with. Despite being a machine, that they have really good presence of mind. Sometimes their sarcasm is also good. So that's something novel for AI to do, performing sarcasm and jokes. Then we have these robots from Boston Dynamics. These left ones can jump, walk, run, crawl, and whatnot. They are just kind of replacing those human activities of transporting and moving around, and they're trying to make it perfect, even so that even if it falls, it can get back up. And first of all, it may not fall on very hard hits. It should be able to balance itself, and it's actually really doing it well. The other ones on the right side are actually, you can say, they might be used later for transportation systems or mimicking animals, and they are really good at right now going off terrain, like walking and running on terrains that are not even, that are even difficult for a human to walk on, and they're running on it. And they're covering great distances at good pace. That is really amazing for a machine to do. That's what humanoids are heading towards, and I don't think that there is a lot of time yet that we may see these humanoids actually look and feel like humanoids and being a good friend of yours in your day-to-day works. Then comes Fuchsia. Fuchsia. How many of you know about Fuchsia? Now, this one is a really tricky one. I'm expecting at least 10 of you to know about it, because this is something that came around a few years back, and came in the form of just a repository from Google, but then later turned out more secretive, and just the concept is known, a few UI templates and nothing else. It's just under active development, so we are not sure what's coming up next. But the main concept itself is really fascinating. How many of you know about Fuchsia? Type in the comments or chat box, you can say. Just heard the name. Okay, fair enough. That's actually more probably for many of us, because even I knew just the name. Yes, Nitke knows it really good. Aditya immigration, just search in the Google. That's actually a really good move because I made this whole presentation and everything I know about is just a simple Google search. Sally don't know about it. This one is going to be fascinating for you as well, for sure. Anyone else? Come on. Heard name. Okay. Didn't know. Okay. A few more. Really, it is that much hidden. Sonali Gaikwad. Okay, don't know. Okay, for those who don't know about it, it is an OS currently being developed by Google that can run on a PC as well as a phone, as well your wearables, smart TVs, literally everything. This is an OS for everything. Concept is just that simple. One OS, any device. So what it brings to the table is we now you don't need systems or adaptive technology. For example, some data sharing tools and all stuff. It's just the same system everywhere, and you can connect and interact with it seamlessly. And that's what the whole concept is all around. For the Indians, if you have seen, there is a movie called Pyar Impossible, don't go on the name and the whole story itself, but there was this one system or one OS that the guy developed in the movie called as U system or universal system. I don't remember. And I even tried to find out a clip out of it, but bad luck, I didn't got it. So I don't have it. But the U system was, or you can say universal system. It was named Unity. Yes, it was named Unity in the movie, and the main concept of Unity was just the same. It claims that it can run Symbian, Android, iOS, and other stuff on just the same system. Just give any app, it can run it. And Futsi is somewhat different of them. It doesn't takes apps from other platforms. It just gives a platforms that can be run on any system. So now we are on something different. How many of you know about HIDs? Don't type the name, don't type the full form. I just want to know yes or no. Quickly, 10 seconds, yes or no. Y or N will also do. Quick, quick, quick. Awesome. Anyone else? So far we have 2 yes, 2 no, 4 yes, 5 yes. Okay. Many of you know it. That's really good. For those who don't know it, it's called as human interface devices. Yes. In fact, right now what we're doing using computer systems, here we have HIDs in the form of keyboards and mouse pads. And in case you have joined this session on a phone, your phone touch screen display, that how you interact with the device is what is called as HIDs. Don't get confused with the display systems and output systems. HIDs generally refer to the input systems. Did I miss? Okay, so let's take it over. Something's wrong. Okay, not a problem. HIDs, when we talk about HIDs, there is a lot of things going on around which we are sometimes confused and is not really good for us, because HIDs are much simpler, but there is these things that is sometimes difficult to understand. For example, when we come up with, you can say, think of new novel HIDs, facial gestures, sentimental analysis, and you can say your own acronym driven HIDs. Amanasati, seen your post on LinkedIn last day on the same topic. Yes, I wrote a post upon it, and it was kind of complete coverage out of it. For those who are unaware about it, you can just go to my LinkedIn, or I will share the link right after the session. What's coming next might be because we right now have so many amazing devices that have these things called as AR cameras that are able to perform and understand the environment around the them so well. It is not so far away that there will be new HIDs that can understand by the way of walking of us and might have some triggers just by a way of hand or maybe hand gestures. For those who are really interested, there is a YouTube channel called as 2 Minute Papers, and one of those papers actually covered recently a topic in which they were actually able to use a simple camera of a laptop, and just by watching the hands they were able to create a 3D model inside the computer system of those hands actually working and moving in real time. And that's something really great coming up, because we have seen those movies like, for example, I don't remember, it was another Indian movie, something related to, I guess it was 2020 or 2050 something, in which they were playing a game inside a chamber, and the chamber was tracking their movements, and they were able to play in a virtual environment. Also, something that is relevant to the movie called as Ready Player One, if you are aware about it. Have you seen it? Ready Player One. How many of you have seen Ready Player One? That's one of the best movies I can refer for thinking about the future tech, because that's something really amazing. I did. Cool. Yes. Yes, Oscar for visual effects. Really, it deserves them. It was even it was so difficult to understand, like if it's real and if it's really possible. For those who have no idea about visual effects, they might think that it was real, even though it was such a tremendous effort to make it. Yes, watched it. Awesome. So these were the movie name. Please, the it's called The Ready Player One. It's an Hollywood movie, of course. It revolves around this game called as the Oasis, which is a complete virtual environment, and people spend most of their lifetimes in there, apart from eating, drinking, sleeping, and shitting. They spend most of the rest of their time in the game itself. They work there, earn there, live there, meet with friends there. It's like living the whole life virtually, except for the jobs that you need to do in physical world, the personal ones. So we can move further. HIDs, for those who are already connected to me on LinkedIn, and I do keep track of my post. There is another post coming on the future of HIDs that I've already drafted. This is a suspense thriller. Stay tuned for that. And in case you are not connected to me and want to connect, I have prepared the simple link to take you to my profile that is called as go.csesync.xyz/hello. Posted in chat box in case you are interested. So we can continue now. Next coming up is breaking the social dilemma. How many of you know about breaking social dilemma? Yes. Do you know about it? Don't worry, I'm just sharing the presentation right now. I hope it's visible now. Cool. How many of you know about social dilemma, or at least heard the term? It's actually a documentary that came out recently and it emphasizes on a topic that is really needs to be concerned about and be cautious about. Shripad Joshi knows, Shakal Patle. Savina knows about it. Really good. Anjali knows about it. Okay. Really good people around. Those who are catching up with the new things. Great. Coming up. Awesome. Any more? Any more of your rest of you don't know about social dilemma? Do I need to explain it? Just a short summary if you want. Just type explain if you want to touch it, or I can just go for the solution of it. Waiting for, okay. So it needs to be explained. Okay, when it comes to like social dilemma, if you have seen or if you have used Instagram, And if you have used Facebook, WhatsApp, and YouTube, all these things have something called as suggested personalized content, ads, and all stuff. So what it does, it feeds you content that you will like, you will watch, you will interact with, and you will get just hooked up to it. That's where these companies earn. But uh, when it comes to your life, it becomes even more addictive to handle all of this content at once, because once you just get started with it and you spend like 2 3 hours and you compromise your plans out of it, that's not a good thing for you as well. So social dilemma focuses on this part that these things are actually now driving us instead of us driving them. These suggestive AI engines are driving our workflows, our lives, instead of we making use out of it to reach to great content. And the problem became worsened when it turns out that these pieces of content actually started to take a turn in the direction where we are hooked but we are not growing. And this takes us to the another dimension where we are just enjoying short moment but we are compromising on the long term. Social dilemma is our mistake, and breaking out of it is our own choice. How many of you can understand this? So you might have seen yourself stuck into this loop of Instagram suggestions, Facebook suggestions, especially those guys in Pinterest. Once you watch a single image, you get a whole lot of suggestions out of them, and it is so much difficult to handle it at once. So what's the solution out of it? Your current status. How much deep are you in the mess? The problem is because we don't track what we are doing, and that's how we get make things worse. So first thing would be to see how much time you spend, which is productive and which is what you want, and how much time you spend that you didn't want it to, but you did. Don't worry about being guilty. It's all okay because we didn't knew about this problem. So how could we solve it? Right now, we just now got to know about it, so we can solve it from this moment next on. Now, once you know at what times, what kind of content you are spending more time on it and which you don't want to, you can check for those elements that can be eliminated and choose the simplest one out of it because that will be the easiest one to eliminate. Then what to do with it, how to eliminate it, because if you spare that time, it will you might eventually get onto that same mistake again because you have nothing to do else. So you can replace it with a good hobby, go out, play some games. For example, you can just play with your society people or people living nearby, especially kids, because that's a really great way to get things out of it and be the be the back kid again. That's what the whole workshop is known as ProKid, because we are becoming professionals, we are becoming pro people, but we should not forget to keep the kid in us alive because that's what will drive in the long run. Professional just works, kid lives. Then repeat the same thing for other points. For example, if you have a small thing, you can go for replacing it with reading an article of your choice, or if you are an extrovert, calling a friend of yours whom you have not seen in a long while. That will be a really good one for good step towards your friendship with them. And if there is a long time chunks that you are trying to eliminate, replace it with this some kind of lengthy hobby, but is really something that makes you happy. It can be art, it can be drawing, it can be reading novels, it can be playing outdoor games that takes long time, for example football, basketball and all stuff. And once you're all clean and done with all of these things being eliminated from your life, and you have complete control of your time over yourself, help others to do the same, just like me. This is just how you do it, because this is a concept that even before Social Dilemma I was some kind of worried about, because I was watching it and I was some eliminated a few of them already. But once Social Dilemma, the whole documentary came out, I found that there exists some more of them that I am still following and had to be replaced, and then I did them as well. So right now, even if I'm spending some time on, you can say wasting some time on some random content, it's actually because I choose, and it's not because I'm driven by it. The moment it's driving me is the moment I drop it. And in case you're wondering what I was doing before, one day before uh, this workshop, I just prepared the PPT. Even though there is a glitch, I will keep in mind. I was prepared with the content very well, and I thought, okay, it's taking too much out of my head, so let's break it out with something chilling for me that I may enjoy. So I was watching this cartoon series because I didn't find anything. It just came to my mind, and I just started watching it. 2 episodes, and I was all cool, all sorted. So this one is a bonus story. I can cover it. It's really interesting in itself. But the question is, we are already ahead of time, and do you want this to be covered? Replace bad with good. Yes. No, totally out of it. So should I cover this topic or not? Waiting for your responses in the comment box, and who knows if somebody is willing to open the mic and say it. Anyone? We have 50 people here. 50 people here. If possible, in 5 minutes. Yes, it is a 5 minutes thing. It is not even not 5 minutes. It might take just 2 or 3 minutes. Yes, of course. Yes. Okay. A few more, because I cannot just agree to 5 or 10 people. I need around 15 because we're 50 right now here. What time what's you're asking, Siley? What time required to complete this session? The session is just almost over. These are the last 3 slides, I guess. Yes, please proceed. Okay. So this story is about Sohail Pathan. For those who don't know, program manager at Coding Plus and also the lead at GDG Nagpur. You must have been known about him if you are from Nagpur. And I am from GDG Nagpur as well. I am a core team member of GDG Nagpur. And he just called me while I was preparing this PPT just yesterday, that if he said me, do you have a pen and paper with you? I said yes. He just told me write this and this. So he told me that we are trying to make something. We are trying to map accelerometer to color codes and change color codes according to the values from accelerometer. These accelerometers have this range of -10 to +10 for x, y, and z axis. That means 3 different dimensions. And color values are from 0 to 255. That you are already aware about it because it's, I guess, 8-bit codes, 0 to 255. Then he gave this formula, 8x plus 12 divided by 24 and multiplied by whole multiplied by 255. And he asked me that what's this formula making sense? I'm understanding it, but I need your views on it as well. So I just had a look on it, and if you can see, it's because these x plus 12 is there because we are eliminating this +10 range and taking it to 12 in an absolute fashion, so that if it's -10, we pull it to become +2. If it's +10, we make it +22. So we get a completely positive range. So that and this 2 is there to eliminate those buffers and keep some space for more intervals to switch from. Then divide by 24 is there because these 12 positive, 12 negative combined is 24, and we are trying to find the ratio out of the color code, like how to what extent it is bending in a certain direction. So we get a ratio which is between 0 and 1. This is simple mathematics we have done so far. We have already used it so many times. If you use such mathematics for anything and you multiply it by 100, we get a percentage. But this time we need a mapping for a color code which is ranging from 0 to 255. That's why we multiplied it with 255. So that's how real things, hardware, software, and mathematics come into just one play to make this. And what they did, they created an Android app using accelerometers of the phone to change the color of the background of the screen using this simple formula. This was the bonus story. How was it? Since you're thinking about programming again, tell me in the chat box. I would love to know. Was it helpful? Come on. Okay, two yeses. Cool. Even if not, there are so many things. Once you check GitHub, or if I do a workshop on GitHub as well, so I can bring those things to you. Now is the time to enjoy. We made it through, and now it's our time to talk. The Q&A session. So you might be interested in that as well. And the reason of this workshop is just because people said they like the way I put things. So now I want to know, how did I put this one, good or bad? I'm willing to take it how it feels to, and does it really feel worth it? So I would request people to open up their mics and speak up, because this isn't kind of end of the session. It's more right now interaction. Charan Singh, grade 1, thank you. Definitely good. Thank you for that. Good comments coming means it actually helped you. Yes, I can say that now. This session is successful because it's a value addition. Really interesting, really good. All the best for your next one. Blessed you. Thank you so much. Informative, very informative. Really loved your talk. Amazing. So just one little more thing for certificates, fill the feedback form. Ensure right details because it is automated. And you know the trick that if you fill wrong details, you will get the wrong certificate and it will be a mess. Even though in that case, if something goes wrong, you can just drop a mail to CompuFest and we will sort the problem. For such constant amusing content, follow me on LinkedIn because I am a content writer on LinkedIn as well. I post almost regularly as much as possible. And so far, I'm posting every day or alternative days on an average. You can also follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/CSE Singh, which is used for generally creating information about such events or anything that I do on a bigger scale for a live content for like this session and all stuff. And wish you awesome time coming your way. That's all for this session. Thank you for joining. I'm open to any discussions if you like for like 2 or 3 minutes more because we are a bit ahead of time. But in case you're interested to talk, open up. In the meantime, do make sure to fill the feedback because it's important. Feedback form link is in the chat box, so please fill your feedback and ensure right details. सर नहीं यार, just Anmol. 2 minutes more before we leave this meeting. And don't forget to miss this feedback. You will love to have these certificates with you. The team has drafted amazing certificate designs, and it's all the whole event is associated with ACM as well. It has really worth, and you know about what is the worth of this particular session, so it's up to you. I see people leaving. Just a simple reminder again, make sure to fill the feedback form to get the certificates. And let me know about this whole event experience. There is a question in the feedback form as well for that. Yes, certificates mail पर ही आएंगे. Yeah. You will get your certificates on mail. Anyway, Anmol, it was a great session. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Anmolji, for such a wonderful session. For those who stayed this long, there is something I need to add here, because this session was drafted to be generic and hopping on different technologies. It's not generally it does not generally happens, because these technologies are itself so much deep to cover in just one session. So in the next ones, I will be surely covering a particular session, targeting it and going further deep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to you for joining and making it a success. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you so much for being the host, Nupur. Thank you, Anmol. You are informative as always. This was a great session. Thank you. That's all for you people.